Hey Leos, your weekly love tarot reading begins with a Knight of Wands, a Knight of Swords, an Eight of Cups, and a Six of Swords. Your person is coming in with Queen of Swords, Three of Swords, wow, a Knight of Cups, and a Nine of Pentacles. Definitely some shadow here, bottom of the deck. Lover's card, right? So this was definitely, and I say was, a love connection, but I don't think it is anymore. Um, Bottom of the deck, clearly this was a real connection, a real twin flame. You guys really, you really connected on a level, but I think that was where it stopped, right? Not sure that this ever got into a stage to sort of develop into anything healthy. Let's get right into it, guys. Leo, you and your person, how do you come into this week? What are your energies? Well, your energy is Knight of Wands and they're Queen of Swords. So for you, you're all over the place this week. You know, you're kind of like extreme. You're feeling it, right? You got a lot of ideas. You want to do a lot of stuff. You know, you want to get a lot of things done, Leo. It almost feels like a chaotic energy that's coming in. Your person is coming in with Queen of Swords. They are being tough. I mean, like they are like no nonsense. Okay. I think they're being really, really honest with you. And I'm already taking this stance because I'm looking ahead at the cards. There's been betrayal here. They move on. Listen, let me not get ahead of myself, but that Queen of Swords right there, Leo, they definitely have come to a decision about something, and they're letting you know what that decision is. And I think that decision is that they're done. Yeah, I think their decision is that they're done, and the way it's affecting you is that you are just all over the place here with that Knight of Wands. You know, very extreme right now. You know, you're feeling it. I think you're feeling it. What happened here? Seven of Cups and a Magician. Yeah, unrealistic expectations. And Four of Cups and Two of Pentacles. Yeah, juggling a lot. Listen, for you, Leo, I think you had some expectations in this relationship that were unrealistic. And those expectations, I think, were the expectation that your person would tolerate you cheating on them. That your person would tolerate you behaving in such a way that amounts to a betrayal. Because as I look ahead, I see a betrayal here. So you had an idea in your head about a particular type of relationship here, and I think you thought that you could make it work, and in the end, you didn't. Sad to say. I mean, Magician energy comes in. You were very confident, and yet, and still, I see a departure here. Your person, Four of Cups, Two of Pentacles. I think that they were dealing with a lot here in terms of dealing with you, Leo, right? So, for instance, Leo, you can be quite aloof, right? You can play hard to get sometimes. I think that, they got sick of trying to come towards you. You know, that Four of Cups, I feel like they were trying to give you a cup of love and trying to juggle a lot of things here in this connection with you, a lot of different aspects. It could be that you guys are long distance. It could be that, this isn't a smooth sort of relationship in a way. There are other obstacles perhaps here. There may be other responsibilities. There may be children. There's other things in your lives, right, that your person has had to juggle in a way to be with you, to have this connection with you, and yet they feel like you just are not giving them anything. You know, they feel like, you haven't given them any sort of any sign that you care, any sign that you want to move forward. You've been very lackadaisical. You've been very sort of aloof. Maybe because you've been busy with somebody else, So your energy has been cold towards them. And I think they've had enough. And I think they consider it. Definitely there's a betrayal here. Show me some more. Well, before we clarify the second, let's just talk about this real quick. How do you see each other? Well, when they see you, I've already talked about it, they see a Three of Swords. So they see you. There's a betrayal here. You have absolutely betrayed them. And I feel like, they think that either you betrayed them in as much as there was a lie, or there's definitely, I feel here, third party energy. Knight of Swords is how you see them. So they are also presenting with some extreme energy. Knights are pretty extreme. And they're also, but from your point of view, they're being like, they're kind of like being very extreme with just suddenly cutting you off, you know, um, making decisions like, boom, I'm done with Leo. You know what I mean? Like they're just, I think that their communication is very harsh right now with you. Um, there may be some arguing here. There may be some bickering here that's quite extreme. Some fighting here that's as a result of this. Let's see some clarity. Yeah, Five of Swords. There's your fighting. So yeah, a lot of fighting. They're like, look, I know what's going on. You can't fool me. I'm not, um, listen, there may be some, if there's third party energy, your person, Leo, they're confronting the other person. There's a lot of that going on. Yeah, just a lot of words, a lot of anger, a lot of anger, a lot of words, a lot of fighting. And in the end, they're not there for it. Nine of Wands energy, they're exhausted from this with you. They're exhausted of the fights. They're tired of the fights. They're tired of trying to come towards you, getting nothing in return. You've been very, as I say, quite cold to them. It almost feels like you just felt like you could get away with being a player. It feels like you felt, Leo, in this connection with them, that you could get away with certain behavior, and they're just not having it. They're just done with that. And they're letting you know, and this absolutely feels like a breakup, but it feels like a rough breakup with a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of sort of like, well, you told me, you know what I mean? It's like you might have promised something to this person. Seven of Cups there, the unrealistic expectations. Leo, you may have indeed promised like this fantastic future and then just shut it down without any notice. And they're like, what? Is that why is that why you've been cold? Is that why you've been pulling away? Like this whole time you told me we were going to do this, but now you're telling me you got a whole other partner over here, or you have a whole other life and we're not going to. It feels like energy like that. Karma. Ooh. And your karma comes in. And death for them. So a full change, Leo. Your karma comes in and you walk away. You are forced to walk away. Okay? I believe you're forced to walk away. You're forced to have to turn your back on this relationship because judgment, karma. In this deck, it's called karma, but it's the same as the card for judgment. Yeah, there's judgment here. There's judgment. And like you kind of, they're not forgiving you. Death is here. And on the heels of a Knight of Cups. This is how you guys see yourselves in a relationship. That I want to say that love that they were extending to you is gone. There's a death of this. They did see themselves as the person who's always forgiving, kind, coming towards you, trying to be loving. But after all of this, they're done. And that's dead and over with. Yep. Now, final outcomes here. Yeah, possible. I usually call this, pull that position for possible outcomes. For you, Six of Swords, yeah, a complete departure. Yeah, you've had to leave the relationship, and really, Six of Swords is like really learning a lesson from this as well. Not only did you have to leave the relationship, but now it's time to learn this lesson, and it's over and done with. For them, they continue on and prosper. Nine of Wands is there. They continue to prosper and to sort of do for themselves, right? And they are going through a healing period that is all about putting that energy back into themselves. I think this was a toxic relationship for quite some time, Leo. And unfortunately, whether you feel you're guilty of it or not, your person definitely believes that you betrayed them. That you cheated on them, you betrayed them, you betrayed their trust, that you lied to them, and this is all a result of that, and it is well and truly done. There's a lot of fights here. A lot of fights. Let's clarify this final position. More fighting. 5 of Wands, yeah. And 3 of Swords again. What? All right, Leo. Yeah. What can I say? I mean, you see it, right? The 5 of Wands is coming out again. 2 5s we have here. The amount of fighting and back and forth and the arguing and the one-upmanship, the toxicity here is just beyond. And I just... I'm happy for both of you that honestly it's over, because this could not have been a healthy relationship. And again, forced, I think, to leave almost in a way. Because your person, with that Queen of Swords coming in this week, your person absolutely told you where to get off at. You know. And they're done. You know, whatever love they had that kept bringing them back to you, and I do believe this must have been an on-again, off-again relationship. I absolutely believe it must have been that, because there's a feeling of exhaustion here on the part of your person that can only come from one of those toxic relationships where you're constantly forgiving them, letting them back in, and they just do the same thing again. Now they've gotten to a place where it's dead. They have no desire anymore. Let's get your animal spirit, Swan and the Oyster. Wow. Well, the Swan, water energy. Swan is all about grace. Increasing yourself, making yourself, you know what I mean? Leveling yourself up, refining yourself, you know? And I think your person is resonating with a bit of Swan energy, in as much as they've decided with that Queen here, man, they've decided to refine themselves and not to take any more BS. They've decided to refine themselves in the way that they, in the type of relationships they have, and the people they have the relationships with, right? So they are conscientiously sort of refining themselves and leveling themselves up to be with people who are good for them and not toxic. They're also dealing with their own toxicity that they brought to this relationship. But they're realizing that there has to be an end to this connection with you for them to deal with that. Oyster energy, water, also water to do with secrets. The oyster is the animal spirit for keeping secrets, you know, not giving anything up, you know, just nothing, giving up nothing. Being so secretive and so to yourself that in the end there's no reason to be connected to you. There's like, you give people nothing. I think that you resonate with that right now, Leo. This particular reading is for Leo who's resonating with that. You've kept so much of yourself to yourself that, you know, that's what started all this. Here, this 4 of Cups here. Your person has really tried to reach out and get a bond with you, and you've just been stubborn and unwilling to acknowledge them, to go any deeper, to give of yourself. And so now, yeah, you see what happens. You know, you're forced to have to sort of say goodbye to this connection, say goodbye to it, and learn a lesson from it, because it's not one of those that you say goodbye, you learn your lesson, and then they take you back. No, the only way you're learning a lesson here is because they have well and truly finally been done with you, and you won't get a second chance. Spirit of the child, werewolf spirit, spirit of Christ. Childishness. A lot of childishness has gone on, immaturity here, and unfortunately this feels like the consequences. Werewolf spirit, wild, untamed desire, maybe bubbling up here as a result of them finally saying no. I do find oftentimes in my readings, in life and experience, etc., and dealing with people, helping people with their relationships, oftentimes finding that it isn't until you level yourself up, you do good, you do better, and you say no to somebody that suddenly, you know, all of the desire comes back. Now they want you. Spirit of Christ. Forgiveness, reconciliation, and unconditional love. Yes, there was a strong connection here. There is maybe still a strong connection here. And of course, tarot readings are not, you know, these are not, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't predict your future, right? This is just a snapshot into what's going on right now. Of course, there's always room for anything to happen. And indeed, there is room always for a reconciliation or forgiveness to happen here. But it would require so much work on your part, Leo, so much, and perhaps some luck from the universe to really get this person to turn around, because it took them so long to get here. You're dealing with, this was not a light decision on their part. You're dealing with somebody who's been around this block, this toxic block, and this toxic connection so long and so many times that it would really take a monumental feat of work, of effort, of shadow self-work, healing, all of that to make this happen. Nevertheless, Spirit of Christ comes in for a reading for a reason. And there is Lover's card here in this tarot reading. So it's like this card is showing up because there's still a strong connection here. Sadly, it has fallen apart because of lies and deception. All right, guys, this is your weekly love outlook for Leo. I'm going to round it up with a final message and saying that, Leo, this is a reading for you and about a relationship you've had with somebody that was a very strong connection, but that unfortunately, because of your inability to make an effort to let them know how you feel, to really make them feel wanted, to exchange, to give as well as to give as much as you get from them, and also specifically third-party energy, cheating, a lot of deception. Because of this activity and behavior in this relationship, they've come to a place where they've had enough, and they've let you know that, and it's gotten to a pretty bad breakup, pretty bad arguing. I would say there's a lot of arguing here because presumably you don't actually want them to break up with you. Nevertheless, you're forced to leave and you're forced to learn a lesson. Your person, their feelings for you or their role in this relationship is well and truly over. They will no longer be the one saving this relationship or coming towards you to make the reconciliation. If there is room for reconciliation, you're the one who's going to have to do it. And for them, they're going to be moving on and just working on themselves and their own life, mind, body, all of that, their own sort of physical life and environment. They're moving on and working on that without you, and putting all of that energy that they've put into what I would say here is quite a toxic, painful relationship. They're putting that energy back into themselves. All right, Leo cross watchers, thank you so much for watching this. This was a tough one. Do check out your toxic love readings to see if that resonates as well. And remember, these readings can be vice versa. And also, these readings are not going to resonate with all of you. So just take what applies to you and leave the rest on the table. If you enjoyed this reading, please like, subscribe, and share. Go ahead and comment. Claim the reading. Let the collective know if you can resonate with this. All of that really helps my channel, and I love to respond to all my comments. I love engaging with my viewers. But for right now, guys, I wish you love, life, and happiness, and I hope to see you next week in your weekly Love Tarot. Bye-bye.